And here we are at the end of South Kobble Break, leading up the ridge towards Mount Glorious and the Lepidosania track. Up on the side of that ridge would be Myala National Park and the road leading between Mount Glorious and down the other side towards Blackbutt. I'm overlooking the south branch of Kobble Creek, well actually a large seasonal tributary that feeds into Kobble Creek South Branch. I'm probably on about the 300 metre contour here. The creek down there is on about 220, so I'm going to scoot back down, meet up with the creek, follow that much gentler contour on about the 200 metre line, work my way up to the 350 metre contour, which hooks in pretty much to that valley there. As you see, the creek wends around, which is heading southwest, then it heads almost due west and curves back around, and I live about 2 kilometres that way on the other side of that ridge, following the gorge that runs between those two tops there. There's a better look at the creek. You can see down there's a pickerbean palm. You've got lantana, which is a weed. This grass here is Australian grass trees, young Australian grass trees. Well, not that one there, but a lot of these tufting ones around here are. You've got these ferns. You've got predominantly brush box. You've got Casuarina australis, which is the river she oak. Waterhousia floribunda. Lots of sandpaper figs. And if you look down there, you can see Cissus antarcticum, which is known as native grape, which is what forms the predominant canopy of the vine scrub. Down there, if you look, you might be able to see a large dinner plate shaped leaf tree. That's Macaranga, which is one of the fastest growing trees in the world. And down there we also seem to have some exotic species of herb or some sort of fern. Anyway, I'm getting down to the creek. You can hear that wind blowing in now. We might even get a bit of a shower. And here we've got a pocket of remnant vine scrub. That's Lamandra longifolia, otherwise known as matlash. The other is made baskets and rolled stuff out of that. You can see lovely clear creek water. This here is Callistemum verminalis, which is crimson bottlebrush. It's another common riparian species. That there is a silver condom, which is another riparian species, the little tree. This one here. This is an edible fruit, which is blue. If you look around here, you can see remnants of what would have been vine scrub. So you can see the cyst is starting to climb and re-establish itself in the trunks. You've got more pickerbean palm. If you have a look, there's other small palms in the middle there. See the lantana, which is an introduced native, has taken over areas where you would have seen smaller palms and more brushy species. Looking through there into the depths of it, you can see this was considered impenetrable scrub in the 1800s when people first came through here. I mean, everything, all these sclerophyll forests above me, it's been logged multiple times in the last 200 years. So it's relatively clear, but it drastically altered the forest form. It now resembles dry sclerophyll forest, savanna type more so than subtropical rainforest, which if you actually look down the creek where the fires and the logging never happened, it still is jungle.
Here we've got an interesting specimen of fungi. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but the colour of it, if it focus, crimson, bloody blood red. the stem where it comes out looks like coagulated blood.
Okay, so here we are. I've made it to Middle Kobble Bush Camp. Possibly one of the worst spots around here that you choose to camp, but knowing national parks, being the experts they are, as you can see, we have a visitor's book. But I'm a bit like people whose name starts with J, and I don't sign in nowhere. All we got in there is a ciggy lighter.
Somebody stole the fucking
Someone
book.
stole the visitor's book. See, that was me, because nobody should be signing in. We don't sign in around here. You're lucky I don't burn this to the ground with a lighter. Now, strict no fire policy, so they thought they'd build seating around a fire ring. It's a trap, it's a honeypot. See, they want you to come down here and light a fire and then find you. But this is actually a remote bush camp. The only way in here is by foot. You can see there's more vine scrub up there. There's a small clearing. I suppose you'd pitch a tent there. Most people come from up in the mountains up there, up towards Mount Glorious, and walk down to the Pizzamia Trail, climb down that cliff that we avoided, nearly die, and then come across the creek to here, because just around this corner is a lovely South Kobble waterfall that most people seem to think doesn't exist, which is actually quite a nice spot for a swim.
Down there, that's the bush camp. You can see the border of the riparian vine scrub. Very jungly, dense, green, bordering sclerophyll,
Yeah, if you
dry.
look down there, point down into there. Here's a prime example of a stark borderline between what you see vine scrub. You see those vines climbing up all the trunk. See this one here, moth vine. And here we have a line. It's almost like a line in the bush. And up to our left, you see what is, well, it's savanna type wet sclerophyll forest. Some people call it dry sclerophyll forest, but strictly speaking, it's not. As you can see, you have eucalypt dominant forest. Well, you have forest red gum, you have bloodwood, and tallowwood would be the predominant three species on this face of the hill. You see spotted gums, pink spotted gums. The other side of the hill will probably have different species. That's an old forest red. As you come down into the forest, into the riparian on the border, you'll see more tallowwood. You might even see the odd eucalyptus terreticornis, but there's none around here. And a mixture of your riparian species dominated by vine. Up here you have dry sclerophyll dominated by a grassy understory and a mid-story of tea trees and leptospermums, other small Australian shrub species. And if you look through there, you can see the xanthoria, which were known as black boys, but which are now known as Australian native grass trees. Yeah, here we are in a spot, a nice little spot here. You can see by the sheer faces we're we're actually moving up a ravine now, actually into the foothills of Mount Glorious Range, the Jaguar Range, the Dargila Range. So yeah, this is pretty steep country, so we're going to stick to the creek and follow this into the nice gentle contour.
Here we can see the most beautiful blue dragonfly, barely visible on camera, but the diversity of the Australian bush is amazing.
And here we are at the start of the South Kobble Falls section. There's some nice water holes here. That one's about, that looks to be about 8 foot deep down there. I can't quite see in the sun. And you've got the water spilling down over the rocks. And a couple of small falls. You come up here. And there's another nice deep pool you can swim in here. A little bit of a beach. More vine scrub. You see we're practically on a gorge here. Can't block that sun out. There's another fall, maybe 50, 80 metres further up. We're just heading there now. Okay, so here we are at the mythical South Kobble Falls. I've had numerous people tell me this waterfall doesn't exist. As you can see, that's about 8 metres high. It goes up into the gorge, up into the mountain. You've got quite a nice swimming hole here. There's a person for reference. If you look next to the person, there's a crow's nest fern. It's beautiful and cool down here, and then if you look down further down the creek, it continues down into a series of other rocky, slow falls. Perfect spot for secluded swim. The only way in here is at least 2 hours on foot. I don't think you'd even get a helicopter through that canopy. Alright, I'm going to have a swim. Go! Woohoo! Beautiful, mate. It's a good spot to stop for a traditional Australian hiking food after a swim. We've got it here, so we call this a lamington. See that?
Hunting Falls, mate. Yeah, we've walked for about another hour past the last waterfall. We're definitely in deep rainforest country now. And look around. Look at the size of this shelf fungus. Massive. You got these, one even under the water. Ginormous fig tree. Rough up here. Look at the lines on the rock down there. And people say there's no straight lines in nature. This is beautiful. What are we looking at?
See where that water comes down? It goes down into a hollow. The waterfall runs through a hollow in that rock.
Yeah.
You don't be able to see it from here.
No, I can see it. Yeah, you can see the water's running through that little hole there. Tell you what, this is living. This is more beautiful than any city, any urban environment, any culture in the world. I've seen insects on this trip and plants that I've never even seen before in my life. And I've been living outdoors in this area my entire existence. Here we got old Anders climbing up. Give you a rock climbing demo. Tell you what, this rock hopping is more intense than any desert hiker could ever live up to. I shouldn't even be filming this. I need a GoPro, not an iPhone.
There's an elephant here growing in the middle of the fucking pond.
Well, I'll be damned. Don't see that every day. That thing's alive. That hasn't just washed there, that's growing there. Look at this. Yep, there's the waterfall in the hollow. The canopy's pretty thick. Getting on in the day, so it's starting to dim down a bit, but yeah, I'm gonna scoot round and get a better shot. Look at how crystal clear this water is. It's like it doesn't even exist.
We're going to go up, we're going to have to go that way.
Every time we hit one of these falls, we pretty much have to scramble up and up around the side. And being rainforest now, so much damper, so much more moss, water dripping down the rocks. This is where it gets hardcore, mate. Don't do it. Don't do it. Hey, look at that. That tree would have been ancient. Tell you what, you don't get a view like this every day.
Now you have a look there, you might be able to see some freshwater shrimp. This little clear hole with this piece of stone here.
Which is pretty massive.
Shattered flat stone. It's quite large. It's landed in this pool here. It's come tumbling down this cliff. It must have come from pretty high because it's wiped this tree out. But have a look. You can still see fresh scratches on the bark. It's totaled that palm trunk there as well. Ripped them out of the ground. I think that's a bounce mark there. So I don't know how high it's come up from that. But it's come down with a fair bit of force.
This is the original water hole now where the waterfall is that supposedly doesn't exist. And this is how we scaled up to get further. There's a big tree root here. That's steeper than it looks, by the way. Whee! But have a look at this. This spider web here. Once again, if it'd focus.
Island vibe and how we climb down this thing. Zoom in on it. Use your high quality digital zoom.
High quality digital zoom.
It's
yeah, this
pixelated to fuck.
spider web is catching water, eh?
I'm going down to Ting, man.
Going down to Ting, live footage, man. Oh my god, he's falling, he's gonna die! This is scaling down. Not too hard. Yeah, it's about the level of climbing experience you need. Alright, I just climbed down to the bottom of the waterfall without recording because that's lunacy. But you can see up there, that's what we just climbed down. And up around there. Here, grab the cam. Example of climbing. Up. It's a ficus ladder. And that's a white seagull or jungle seek, ficus vine.
This is where that spider web was. Extreme speed hiking, Aussie bush style, mate. Now I'll come down again.
It's the ficus stairway.
Stairway from heaven.